desire to learn, Jamaica's youth have the power to not only elevate their own standard of living, but also to enhance the well-being of all Jamaica. As we push forward with Trend, we will create educational systems of success, assigning the best people to manage the process. Give more attention to early childhood education so we can stimulate excellent learner performance from the start. Empower our educators to create learning experiences that transform minds and lives for greater impact. Build an aligned network of tertiary learning institutions focused on delivering accreditations that strengthen the impact of our tertiary graduates. Provide physical and technological learning spaces that deliver equitable access and resources to all types of learners, and optimize educational budgets and resources to guarantee greater results from early childhood to tertiary level learning.
So that Jamaica may under God increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity, and play her part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race.
Let's trend so Jamaica will continue to be prosperous and more globally competitive. Trend, transforming education for national development, changing minds, changing lives for a brighter tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Latoya Harris, Executive Director for the National Education Trust. The National Education Trust is a charitable organization in Jamaica operating under the Ministry of Education and Youth. And since inception in 2010, we have processed donations, secured grants, and assisted over 1,000 schools across the length and breadth of Jamaica.
So that's the National Education Trust advancing in Jamaica.
Okay. Thank you, Dervin.
Have we played?
Good.
Have we played?
There is going to be a second video, but okay. I will introduce that one.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to the Transforming Education in Jamaica in the Digital Era. This plenary session will explore all things education, all things to do with our students and youth who are engaged in education in Jamaica. The Jamaican education system, as you've seen from the video, is in a phase of transformation led by Minister Favour Williams and her team. And she's here with me along with other panelists to speak about how Jamaica's education system is being made ready for the future, and how you as a diaspora can participate in that process of transformation. So I have with me the Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth, to my right. And next to her, we have Mr. Andrew Lee. He's the CEO of eLearn in Jamaica. We then have from the diaspora, Mr. Marlon Lindsay, founder and CEO of 21st Century Education, or 21st Cent Ed. And finally, we have Mr. Donovan Wilson, again from the diaspora. Donovan is the president of the Union of Jamaican Alumni Associations, or UJA. So to kick us off, we're going to have a very brief presentation by Mr. Marlon Lindsay. He will be launching the virtual STEM Academy in Jamaica. But before he comes up and gives his very brief presentation, I just wanted to remind you that in the spirit of the conference, this is going to be a dialogue. And once we've heard from our panelists, there are 2 microphones there in the audience for you to participate in the conversation. So I look forward to hearing your views and having your questions. Of course, we'd encourage you to keep them as brief as possible. Okay, so help me to welcome Mr. Marlon Lindsay. I believe you'll have a video first. So we'll have a video first, and then Marlon will speak about the virtual STEM Academy in Jamaica.
Jamaica is now officially declared a STEM island. By embracing STEM as a national priority, Jamaica will unlock its full potential, driving prosperity, peace, and productivity in a sustainable and equitable way for all Jamaicans. Thank you. I wanted to start with that video, just in case you missed it. Being from the diaspora, I hear it, there are a lot of critics. They don't understand that real work is being done here in Jamaica, as it is, say, in New York City, or Singapore, or South Korea, that we visited. So Jamaica is now declared officially a STEM island. What does that mean? Now we get the systems in place, led by our minister, to transform our educational system and thereby transforming our economy to be a 21st century globally competitive economy. And you'll hear this over and over again. In order to do that, it takes collaboration between government, private sector, public sector participation. And it should be telling that there's a member of the diaspora on stage talking about education in Jamaica. So what does it mean to have a STEM island? So we have a STEM for Growth Foundation, and we have our chair, Dr. Glenn Christian, in the audience, that's driving the private sector participation in education to help transform Jamaica into a vibrant 21st century economy via education. And so there's a STEM strategic plan in place to assist our Ministry of Education and our government in achieving these objectives. And if I can remember it, I'll summarize it real quick. So there's deep work being done in the Ministry of Education. There's a vision for 6 STEM schools put before us by the Prime Minister. Then there's we had a conference a couple of years ago where the PSOJ put forth this idea that we need some sort of way to reach all students so that we can build a pipeline for our workforce. And so that's the National Virtual STEM Academy. And the epitome of what we're doing is a National STEM Center. And the National STEM Center will serve as a place for research supported by our tertiary institutions. And so that's the vision for infusing STEM into our educational system and thereby our economy. And so real quick, why is it so crucial to have a National Virtual STEM Academy? It is the only way to quickly democratize STEM for all students. See, STEM historically has been positioned as a high-performing opportunity for our smartest students. But we've been doing STEM, all of us, all our lives. When you went to the store and they count change back to you, that's STEM education. When you work with each other and you talk about, I remember in classroom, how long does it take a train to leave from Spanish Town, right, and get to Montego Bay? We've been doing STEM all of our lives. So whether we're shopkeepers, whether we're business owners, or whether we're industry titans, or government sector and private sector, we've been doing STEM. So it's really very crucial that the conversation be about all students having equal opportunity to participate in STEM so they can thrive in the rest of the 21st century. And there's no way to physically build schools fast enough to serve all students with the urgency of STEM. And so a National Virtual STEM Academy is a resource that we can pull down into every school, every classroom, for every teacher, for every child, to start learning STEM in as quickly as 90 days. And that's what Jamaica and New York City, quite frankly, and Suffolk, Virginia, are on the verge of giving to all of its students. So just some context for the conversation that we're having. So thank you very much. I appreciate you being here. And let's talk, Doc.
Thank you so much, Marlon. So let's get into it. In my enthusiasm to start the session, I forgot to introduce myself. So I'm Dr. Kevin Brown, president of the University of Technology, but I keep saying that I'm also the newest returnee, having only been back from the diaspora for the last 8 months, having lived in the UK for 23 years. So it's good to be back and good to be supporting our nation's development. I want to start with our minister. Minister Williams, some members of the audience may have heard of the Orlando Patterson report. It's one of several reports we've had over the years. It is the latest one that has assessed the Jamaican education system. Could you give us some highlights from the reports in terms of the major challenges that were picked up by Professor Patterson, and what are some of the recommendations that the government has now prioritized to enact?
All right, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin to answer that question, let me acknowledge in the room our Permanent Secretary, Dr. Kassan Troop, and yes, please stand. Our Permanent Secretary is the equivalent of the Chief Executive Officer in a company in terms of executing on a day-by-day basis, all the activities of the ministry. I know that we have here as well one of our regional directors, Dr. Pinnock, stand and be recognized. And beside her is Mr. Pinnock, but he is the principal of the MICO University Teachers College here this morning. I know we have many distinguished ladies and gentlemen, but let me just actually acknowledge my husband in the room as well. He's here to provide his support, Leo Williams. And I know we have teachers, and you saw many of our students this morning. So the Orlando Patterson-led report that came back to the Prime Minister was as a result of the Prime Minister commissioning Professor Patterson to pull together from across a wide cross-section of Jamaica, various stakeholders to come together to do an in-depth look at the education sector in Jamaica and to come back with recommendations as to what we can do to accelerate the pace of educational outcomes. How can we get significantly better educational outcomes from the sector? And you may know that Professor Orlando Patterson, who is currently a professor at Harvard University in the sociology department, is a son of the soil of Jamaica. And this report came back to us, a very thick report, 365 recommendations. And those recommendations were captured in the video that you saw earlier on. What we've done is we've taken them, we have organized them in terms of the 7 pillars, which speaks to governance, the early childhood sector, teacher training, curriculum, TVET, infrastructure and technology, speaks to tertiary education and the financing of education in Jamaica. So we've organized this under the banner of TREND, Transforming Education for National Development. And it's a way for us to grab the attention of Jamaicans, to say to the Jamaicans, this is what we are about, this is what we have to do to transform education in Jamaica so that every child who's in Jamaica has access to the same quality education regardless of where they live in Jamaica. We have prioritized over the last 2 years infrastructure and technology, and with good reason. You heard Marlon talk about us being a STEM island. It was actually declared by the Prime Minister and what we need to do. So, infrastructure and technology. Many of you from the diaspora, you visited our schools, and I'm sure you're not satisfied with the physical infrastructure of our schools that you see. And so we have to accelerate the physical development of our schools so that our children, our teachers, our administrators are working and learning in comfortable environments, because that impacts your learning as well. But even while we're doing that, we have to ensure that all our children across Jamaica and our teachers have access to technology. And so, over the last 2 years, coming out of the pandemic, we held on to the gains that we had in the pandemic to technology, because as you know, Jamaica was able to transition, to pivot into the virtual space during the pandemic, and all of our students, or approximately all of them, were able to remain connected to the education system. So we came out of that with gains in terms of technology, and we're accelerating those gains. So just to say to you, as of today, 2/3 of our schools across Jamaica, and we have 1,009 primary and secondary schools, are connected. They have internet connectivity, broadband connectivity. All of our teachers in our primary schools and our high schools have access to a laptop individually. They don't have to share the laptop. All of our technology labs in all of our high schools in Jamaica were upgraded, and e-learning can talk about that with brand new state-of-the-art laptops and connectivity in those labs as well. We have mountains of e-resources available to our students and our teachers. The issue now is to just get the adoption, get them to use more fully all that is available to them. And we know, and you saw it in the video that Marlon played, the world is changing. It's becoming more technology focused. And so we have to ensure that every single one of our students become adept at using the technology, while at the same time protecting them from that part of the internet that they should not access. We know that we have a ways to go in terms of transforming education in Jamaica. The report itself, when we looked at it, it would require at least 8 years, us waking up every day, working. It's going to take at least 8 years to begin to see the significant transformation that we're hoping for. On the infrastructure side, it is going to take longer, because remember I told you we have 1,009 primary and secondary schools in Jamaica, and it takes time to build physically, takes time to upgrade. So, but we are prepared for that, we're organized for that, and the good news is we have the budget behind us to be able to do that transformation. At the end of the day, we want 100% of our students to be achieving, to be excelling in whatever field it is that they choose. And that is what the education system is programmed to do now. And I can tell you that lots of enthusiasm, lots of focus on education in Jamaica, and we ensure that we are telling Jamaicans as well about all the things that we're doing and enlisting their support, because parents are an important stakeholder in education. Without them, we cannot hope to go far. Thank you, Dr. Brown.
Thank you, Minister. So, Minister, you've helped me to move nicely on to e-learning. Let's just do a little poll, Andrew. How many of you in the audience have heard of e-learning before? E-learning, hands up. Okay, it's not too bad, Andrew, not too bad, but I'll still ask you to just tell us more about what is e-learning and what's your mission?
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Brown. Good morning, everyone. I think Minister Williams spoke quite a bit of what we do at e-learning. But if you want to remember e-learning by one word, we are the implementers of technology in schools. And when we talk about schools, we're talking about the full gamut from our infant, primary, secondary schools, of course, community colleges, and our teachers' colleges. And I saw Dr. Brown look across because I think he's also want me to mention UTech as well. And of course, that's work in progress, Dr. Brown, so we'll have those conversations. But essentially, our role is really to infuse technology in the public education system. Our schools in the 21st century require infrastructure, digital infrastructure that will enable our students to become the innovators that we want them to be creative. But without the technology, we can't do that. So just to put things in perspective in terms of what we've done in the last 2 years, Minister, you'll recall, and Minister has mentioned this several times, all our high schools have been outfitted or re-outfitted with technology, modern technology in terms of laptops, tablets, and now we're moving to interactive panels so that our students and our teachers can be more engaged in terms of the interaction that they have in a classroom setting. We have focused last year on the high school. This year, Minister, funding has been allocated to provide devices, laptops for our primary schools. So we're focusing this fiscal on our primary schools. It will be a 2-year program because we don't have all the funding to do it all in 1 year. And in fact, in 1 year, it will be a bit much because we have over 800 primary schools and we have to go through the procurement process. So we're in the process now, and we'll come to Cabinet shortly, Minister, requesting approval for the procurement of laptops for our primary schools. And in fact, interactive panels, we have started that process, and our teachers, our students have been extremely receptive to that. So, but beyond the technology, beyond the hardware that we provide, we're also involved in capacity building. So e-learning has been engaging our teachers primarily in 3 areas. On the matter of cybersecurity is extremely important because as we roll out technology in our schools, we have to focus on ensuring that the environment is secure. And of course, the protection of our data and our students' data is extremely important. So to date, we have exposed over 1,000 teachers to the basics of data protection. So cybersecurity, data protection, and of course, artificial intelligence. So we've been collaborating with the universities to engage our teachers and to have them come up to speed with AI and how AI can increase their productivity. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So I hope that shows you that this is not a transformation, a theoretical. We actually have an implementation body, and we have the data to show that the schools are indeed being upgraded. So I am going to move now to Donovan, then I'll come back to Marlon. So Donovan, in terms of diaspora participation, right, and partnership, UJA, of course, has played a role. So could you just tell us, well, firstly, what is UJA, and what is your opinion on how the diaspora can help Jamaica partner with Minister Williams to continue the transformation process?
All right, thank you, Dr. Brown. You know, ladies and gentlemen, first let me wish you a pleasant good afternoon and thank you for sticking with us, right? But let me ask this. Can I just see by a quick show of hands those who attended school in Jamaica? And I ask that question because that automatically makes you a part of the alumni community. And so, years ago, the then Consul General to New York found that almost every weekend he was being invited to speak at a function for some alumni group or the other. And that's because when Jamaicans migrate, whether it's to the US or to some other country, their hearts are still here and they want to help their school in some way. So invariably, they form some sort of an alumni group. And so following up on the advice of the Consul General, the Union of Jamaican Alumni Associations, known by its initials UJAA, or simply called UJA by some folks, was formed. It started out with 17 alumni associations being a part of it, and I am proud to say that today we have 64 alumni associations as a part of the Union of Jamaican Alumni Associations. You know, the minister mentioned the Patterson report. And as you heard her said, it was just about 365 pages. 365 recommendations, right. I will tell you that in the pages of the report, and I have actually read it, alumni has been mentioned about 5 times. That's it. And yet, alumni members have been working hard to help their schools in some way. And I will tell you that through UJA, we've had a number of projects going. One, our water tank project. Some people say, how comes we're the land of wood and water, and yet there's a shortage of water in some communities? Well, if you're in close touch with your community, you can understand that. And I can tell you that over the last 10 years or more, UJA has donated over 500 water tanks to various schools. And in fact, just since last October, we have donated 40 water tanks to schools, with another 20 to make a total of 60 scheduled before this September. But in the spirit of technology, you know, when COVID happened, very quickly we realized that there was an issue with respect to technology. To put it bluntly, a lot of students just did not have devices in order to continue with their e-learning, and I'm not throwing stones at my good colleague from e-learning. And so the consulate in New York started an effort to get tablets into schools. And UJA did the same thing as well, and I can tell you that we donated almost 1,000 devices valued at over 14 million Jamaican dollars during the pandemic. But here is what I want people to understand, and I lift my hat to the ministry for this. I think the government realized early on that people were basically just giving devices. And so that created another problem, because now you're getting devices from all over. You're getting all styles, all brands, all, specs. And so the ministry got to a point where, working with the NET, they actually issued a spec sheet to say, if you're going to send devices to Jamaica, these are the minimum acceptable specs. And within UJA, we heard some people who were concerned. They're like, but I want to give a device, and they're saying it doesn't meet the specifications. But I ask you to think for a minute. If that device breaks, who takes care of it? Do we have people who are qualified to take care of it? When you have a standard, it makes it a lot easier for us to have trained personnel who can assist with repairing those devices when it occurs. And so I think you've heard from what I've said that UJA has played its part, whether it's through water tanks, whether it's through giving devices to the schools, whether it's through providing training to those alumni members who want to form an organization to help their school. Because please know this, guys. This is not funding from corporations in the U.S. that helps us to do what we do. It's funding from Jamaicans who want to give back to their schools. Because I can tell you, a lot of times when we reach out to organizations, the minute they hear that we're looking funds to send back to Jamaica and not doing something in the U.S., the amount of funding that you get starts drying up a little bit, because their belief is that it should be used in the U.S. And so our alumni members have come together, working through UJA, working with the ministry, working through NET to help in whatever way we can. So I think that should give a sense of what UJA is about. And I want to tell you that if your school or your alumni association is not currently a part of UJA, see me after this presentation.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to hear from Marlon, but can I start encouraging you to head to the microphone if you have a question or brief comment? So Marlon, Donovan sort of laid out how the Diaspora Alumni Associations have been giving back. But your partnership with the Ministry of Education is slightly different because you are very focused on STEM and you're giving back in a slightly different way. Tell us more about that.
So just for context, you know, the urgency of STEM is known in education certainly and in industry, but I'm not sure if that comes back to our homes. And I just want to talk about the urgency of STEM just for a second, and then we'll jump into STEM. So right now we have AI, we have automation, and we have robotics that's changing the world that we live in. And we're just at the tip of the iceberg in terms of how our world will be transformed. And so there's an urgency to ensure that every single Jamaican students and students in the US and quite frankly, globally, are ready to embrace a 21st century that looks like nothing we have seen, nothing we can imagine. And the best that we can do is prepare them for the unknown. And in order to prepare them for the unknown, we talk about STEM, but the foundation of STEM as we talk about it is what we call in education the 4 C's, and at 21st Cent Ed we tack on the 2 P's. We must make sure our students can critically think, collaborate, work with each other, communicate, talk about their ideas, and then create the processes, the systems that will shepherd them through. And then 2 more we throw on top of it is problem finding and problem solving. If we can do that for our children, then we give them lifelong skills to deal with whatever comes their way. But today, the conversation is about the urgency of STEM. And it's very, very important that we think about that from our living rooms to our classrooms. So our work is around that, working with the Ministry of Education here in Jamaica, where, quite frankly, the Ministry of Education is one of our largest clients next to New York City and others in the United States. So from a diaspora standpoint, there's economies of scale here in Jamaica. Jamaica is a vibrant economy and needs product and services just like anywhere else. So I want to plug the Diaspora Conference for bringing us together so that we can exchange not just ideas, but create business opportunities. Now, beyond just the partnership that we have with the Ministry of Education, I have a personal commitment to contributing my knowledge, what I have access to, back to Jamaica. Not in a sort of a ceremonial way, but in a profound way that says, a part of what I earn will come back to the land that I love. And I really want to think about that because, you know, when we talk about giving back to Jamaica, and we just heard about, you know, giving computers that don't meet certain specs, we should really think about how to give back to Jamaica, right? So we can give back to Jamaica, I think, in 1 of 3 ways. We could find some stuff that's left over, and we can send it back, all right? And that's okay if it meets a certain standards. Or we can decide that we have a specific portion of our income to give back to Jamaica. So we're talking about philanthropy, right? And so we can give back what we have just in case we have it, or we could set up a philanthropic effort deliberately and give back to Jamaica. Or we can commit to not just giving back in terms of philanthropy, but bringing our skills, talents, and abilities back to the island to help build and transform Jamaica into a vibrant 21st century economy. Enough of us go away when we get a Jamaican education and do really, really, really well with that. It is time for us to come back and bring that thing back deliberately, not in terms of, we have a little bit of excess, so we're going to give it to Jamaica. We must commit to supporting the land that supports us so we can thrive the way we are.
Okay. Thank you, Marlon. Okay, so let's go to the audience, and I can see we have some two long queues. So can I just encourage you to keep it as brief as possible, and the same to my panelists, brief responses so that we can get through as many as possible. I'm going to start on my left, which would be your right in the audience. So young lady in the green.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Minister, thank you for the great work you're doing, and everyone here on the panel. Thank you so much for what you do. My name is Sandra Christie Brown. I am a diasporan out of South Florida, also a past student of Marvelly Primary School. And I'm here to tell you that the children here in Jamaica need our diasporans to step up more. And I was reading on the thread, and folks were asking, how can you help? How can you help? And I heard someone mention about the high school alumni. Well, I left here at primary school level, so I went back to my primary school. And last year, I must say, we have placed a wellness center there in Marvelly, the first wellness center on the island for the students. And what we did, we collaborate with other NGOs like People Profile and so forth and so on. I also started a shoe locker. When I got to the school and the condition that the children's shoes were in, I wasn't pleased at all, because I myself, who grew up in Jamaica, sometimes had to go to school without no shoes, and how was my self-esteem? Very low. So I sent my daughter back to Jamaica for early education. My daughter is now a professor at Yale University, and she's the executive director for the Consumer Health Informatics Lab at Yale University. I just got back from Ireland, Limerick, Ireland, a week ago, where she was presented an international award in inclusion and diversity. She proudly wore her Jamaican lapel pin to represent Jamaica. So I would ask my diaspora, and you said, how can you give back? You can start with your primary schools by investing in a child, by just sending a pair of shoes to a child, or even help out with the breakfast program. So I would love for us to focus on the primary children also, and I hope to see many more wellness centers in the school here in Jamaica. Thank you again for what you do.
Thank you. All right. The minister wants to respond.
Oh, well, not necessarily a response, just to say thank you, and all other diaspora members. We know that you do a lot for schools in Jamaica, and sometimes we hear about it, other times you just go and you just do. So we want you to know that we publicly thank you. But I want to take the opportunity to introduce the National Education Trust. They did a video just now, but just in case you missed it, the National Education Trust is an entity in the Ministry of Education and Youth. Ms. Latoya Garty is here. She is the Chief Executive Officer there. There is a division at the National Education Trust that helps to shepherd diasporans or anyone else who wants to give to education. A lot of times, I know many of you pack up big container trucks with stuff, and then you get to Jamaica, you get to customs, and your head hurts you in terms of how much they are charging you, all kinds of charges. But then you call us, and it's a little too late. So we want to encourage you to get to know the National Education Trust. They do have a website. They have contact information. they have emails, and I can tell you from the persons who have used them, they have good testimonies because the National Education Trust takes the hassle out of bringing things to Jamaica for our schools. So I want to encourage that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Dr. Brown,
Minister.
can I just respond to the lady?
Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Winklet Gallimore. I am a lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Mona campus, in the Faculty of Science and Technology. My question is to Minister Williams regarding the fact that there are several scholarships that we know have been offered to other institutions as in the STEM area. And I'm just wondering, when is it that we at the University of the West Indies will be getting those amazing STEM scholarships?
I see Dr. Pinnock here in the front. Those scholarships were announced by the Minister of Finance and the Public Service to MICO. I know at the time as well he had indicated obviously that he would be looking at the other teachers' colleges as well, including, I know, UWI and UTech both have teaching faculties there. And over time, you know, it is my belief that those scholarships will expand.
Okay, I hope it will be sooner than later, Minister Favor.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for this discussion. My name is Samaya Miller, and I'm here with the Global Jamaica...
We're not hearing you, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'm here with the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council. My question is, we are witnessing a gap in the educational attainment as well as success of young Jamaican boys. So I'm wondering, what do you guys believe is the core issue, and what are you going to use with technology and this digital transformation to alleviate these issues that we are seeing?
Don't know if you all heard the question. She's asking about the attainment gap between boys and girls in Jamaica.
So yes, there is a gap between the performance of our girls versus that of our boys. We notice this beginning in our primary schools all the way through high schools. We have a focus on it. I know our schools are encouraged to put boys in a class by themselves, to engage them that way, because those schools that have done it, they've seen good results because boys together seem to learn better. And in time, they're reintegrated back with the girls. We know that boys learn differently. They respond to teaching differently. And so we are doing that. We're trying to ensure that in our high schools in particular, we have TVET, that's the Technical and Vocational Educational Training, available. We know that the hands-on teaching and learning is very good for our boys. We're encouraging our parents, you know, when their sons come home and say, I want to do TVET subjects, not to discourage them, because we know now that TVET, and we've been preaching this, is on the same platform as traditional education. And I'm sure Dr. Brown can tell you the virtues of TVET subjects, you know, as the head champion of UTech. He knows that his students are work ready when they graduate from UTech, and that he can't produce enough of them for industry. So there is a change that's happening in the education system in recognition of the differences in terms of the way our boys and our girls learn. And we accept this, and we have in place, and I'm sure we need more to be put in place to help our boys come up to that same level as the girls. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name's Orleen Badu.
Sorry. So sorry about
That's
that.
okay.
Mr. Lee wants to...
Yeah, I was just going to support Minister in terms of what is being done, practically to get our boys more up to speed and engaged. So e-learning and other organizations. In fact, just yesterday, we had a meeting with the British Council, and part of that discussion is about how we can get, coding going in our schools, in our primary schools, and in fact, more so our underserved primary schools. So there's a lot of effort that Minister is aware of. I just want to emphasize that that is happening, and that will, address some of the issues that our boys have. I know Marlon, in terms of his virtual STEM program, we can use the infrastructure that we're putting to help to engage our boys a lot more. So practical work is actually being done as we speak to engage our boys a lot more, particularly around STEM areas.
Thank you.
If I might, Dr. Brown, we actually have
really quick
a testimonial from Marcus Garvey Technical School. Just got it a couple of days ago. That some of the work that we've done with our educators to shift the way they're thinking, using project-based learning, inquiry-based learning, they're seeing the engagement level of all students are up. Students are engaged. They're learning chemistry, and in this particular case, they were developing cosmetics. So when we change the way our system, as the work that's being done has been done, we will see the engagement level increase in boys and girls. And when we get to that project-based learning, hands-on based learning is what Minister is, to confirm what Minister is saying, we will see results in the way that we haven't before.
Thank you. So we have to also change the way our educators teach. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Orleen Badu from the UK, ex-principal, and now train teachers and staff in uplifting young people. I've got a quick question for the panel. You talk about developing children for jobs that don't yet exist and tapping into that talent. And as somebody who writes e-learning modules for staff, my question is, what work is happening to ensure that teachers are trained to be able to empower young people for the jobs that yet don't exist?
Teacher training. Who wants to take on that teacher training?
Well, I know we have the president of one of our premier teacher education institutions sitting here, and we have others in the room. I think that's where it begins in terms of ensuring that each cohort of new teachers coming into the system has that orientation, that they come in and they're comfortable teaching students in groups rather than just standing in front of the classroom and lecturing. For those teachers who are already in the system, I know we have a robust education going through the Jamaica Teaching Council to bring different teaching methods to our teachers. We encourage them to experiment and not be afraid of embracing the new. But I see Dr. Pinnock at the mic, so Dr. maybe as a practitioner in the field, he can help us in terms of this question.
Yes, for the audience benefit, Dr. Pinnock is the president of Jamaica University College. So Dr. Pinnock, how do we prepare our current educators and future ones to teach STEM in schools?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We have to begin with a mindset change. What is teaching? And how do you teach in this context? We're aware that the world has changed. We talk about the changing world. It's not changing. It has changed. And therefore, we are living in the future as we speak. And therefore, what was effective 5 years ago is no longer effective today. And the first place to begin is in the minds of the people you are training, and to ensure that they understand that. And therefore, they must know that the students they are preparing must be fit for purpose. And so there's an alignment with the classroom and industry. And that's the reason why the STEM for Growth Foundation was created, with the alignment of educators and the private sector, so that there's no misalignment with the product. Now, it will take a while for that cultural shift to take place, even in our college. And it's taking a while to get even the educators who teach the teachers that level of mindset change that we require. then we have to understand what is happening in 21st century education. So ChatGPT is not an entertainment function at all. It's a real-life situation and a tool that we mustn't be afraid of. When the airplane was created, people were afraid of the airplane and the noise. But we realized it was a necessary invention that is good. In 2000, we thought the world had come to an end because of the change, the computer glitch that was expected. But it didn't happen. And so ChatGPT and AI won't kill us. But it can make us redundant if we're not ready and be prepared for it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Doug?
So let's go to this side. Very
Hello.
brief, because we're winding down.
Hello, my name is Pat Dillon Moore. Last week, my daughter Storm graduated from high school. At the age of 3, I was told she would not read or write because she is handicapped. I would like to know, what are we doing in Jamaica for special needs children? And more, what could we be doing in the diaspora to do a transference of knowledge that is homogeneous? Thank you.
Great question.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I know we are doing a lot at the Ministry of Education and Youth. Dr. Troop, I know that you could just run down the list of things we do for special needs students if you just run over to the microphone and give us, because I know that we provide support. First of all, in the society, there's a greater awareness of special needs students, greater acceptance than you would have seen 10, 20, 25, 30 years ago. And we have kept pace at the ministry just in terms of the support that we provide to special needs students. Go ahead, Dr. Troop.
Okay,
you have 30
thank you,
seconds.
Minister. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see all my Jamaicans who live far and wide. Welcome home. And so indeed at the Ministry of Education, we provide a number of services for students with special needs. One, we have exclusive schools for students with special needs that are publicly funded. We have 20 of those. And for those areas that our public schools cannot serve, we partner with private entities. Those are those private schools in Jamaica that offer special education services. We fund spaces in those schools for students. Parents write to us and they will indicate that we would prefer our child to be in this space. It is smaller, it is more conducive, and the government provides fully funded access to that service for students. Another challenge that we have in Jamaica is assessment services. It's very expensive. And what the government has done is to build out assessment service programs right across the country. So we have an assessment service program at Sam Sharp Teachers College. We have one at Church Teachers College in the central area of the island. We have one in Kingston, Microcare. And we are building a new one, in Portland at Case College of Agriculture, Science and Education for the students in the East. And those institutions will work together to provide assessment service for parents so they can know the diagnosis and we can treat students accordingly. In addition to that, in each of our regions, we have 7 regions in education that serve all the parishes. In those regions, we have student assessment services. So we have clinicians, which are EdSci, we have diagnosticians, and we have other persons called special needs coordinators. And they use the assessment reports to provide support services within our high schools. So within our high schools, we have what is called mainstreaming. So the students with special needs who can function within those settings, they stay in those settings, but they get pull-out sessions with specialized educators. These are called our student assessment pathway coaches, and they are additional experts that are placed in schools outside of the teacher-pupil ratio that we fund within our schools to provide teaching and learning support for our students. We have approximately, 167 of our high schools that are currently benefiting from special support coaches within the schools. These persons are paid to do pull-out. They will pull these students out and deal with them in exclusive setting. They will train teachers. They will co-teach as well and co-plan with the teachers within our schools for special needs. So it may not be enough. I think, Minister, the demand now is for speech therapy and occupational therapy. That's an expensive service, and that's something that we are researching to see how we can expand to provide support for our parents. But I'm calling on the diaspora, if you have an area, a training in that area, or anybody that you know can help us, we are prepared. to work with you to provide that area of support. It's a very expensive support area for our parents, but there is a need for that, and we'd love to be able to expand our resources in that area for our students with special needs. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just to quickly add before the next question, that we're also putting in the technology to support our special needs students. So 15 of the schools will get specialized computer equipment this year. We have already purchased, and we're going to distribute those. So that's a process that we're going through at the moment.
Thank you, Andrew. The technology is always there. All right, so time is winding down. So what I'm going to do is, I can see there's a big queue. We're going to have to do kind of like a rapid fire session, right? So you're going to have to be really quick with your question, and likewise panelists with their responses. So let's see if we can, how many we can go through. All right?
Hello, I'm Charles Smart.
Right. So we'll let you ask your questions, and then the panelists at the end, in their closing remarks, will just respond accordingly. So go for it.
Okay. Charles Smart. I'm a CEO for Matai Block. We're an artificial intelligence agency based in South Florida. And my question is really about just seeing with our clients and the transformation that's happening in the need for different jobs. For example, programmers are leaving college today and they can't find jobs because there's so much automation. And artificial intelligence is really at the center of so much transformation. And as one of our panelists mentioned, you know, we can't imagine the world that we're going to be, our children are going to live in. I think about my 6-year-old daughter. So my question is about what is happening or changing in the curriculums that we are offering in the schools at the early education stage all the way through to college and university to prepare the generation for the jobs that will be coming and replaced because of artificial intelligence, robotics, and automation.
Thank you. Great question. Sir?
Yes, I am Dr. Clovis B. Nelson. And Minister, how are you doing? Once again, you and I have been talking, and Mr. Let me just go into the question. All right, so
please.
Marlon, you made some very good talks on the STEM education concept that you're working with. I appreciate that. I'm happy for where the ministry is going right now. However, I think there's a lot more work to be done to integrate STEAM education more so than STEM. You made mention of project-based learning, sir. And that is an entirely STEAM concept right there, not a STEM concept. And so I believe that there is still some disconnect with the substance of STEAM as opposed to STEM. And I am pushing that. That is my research work. That's where I am an expert.
You need to read Marlon's book. Read a chapter by Dr. Kassan Troop. She talks about STEAM. I don't think there's a disconnect, sir.
I'm talking about the implementation of it, sir.
Read the book, read the chapter.
So
Marlon, have any books with you?
Doc, I will say this. Globally, from an industrial standpoint, we're talking about STEM. But locally, we're implementing STEAM. We can't implement STEM without implementing STEAM. That's just
what I
fact.
think.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
So we're aligned there.
Get a copy of the book from Marlon. Trust me. Read Dr. Troop's chapter. We are aligned. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, panel. My name is Amani Simpson. I am on the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council as the youth rep for the UK South. I'm also a governor of a school and a college trustee back in London. My question is around exclusions and behaviour management. What has been done currently, and where can there be improvements as we go forward with everything that you're planning?
Exclusion of students from schools. Okay. For behavioral reasons?
Yeah, because I think, you know, when you look at the research, that then tends to be a driver for criminal activity, you know, getting involved in other different things.
Okay, we'll touch on that. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tariq. I'm part of the Grace Kennedy Birthright Program. But I studied in the UK, so actually hearing your opinions on sending students and bringing them back to Jamaica to develop the infrastructure was important. But my question for you is more about bringing engineers that can be culturally relative, you know, not just building Jamaica in a Western image, but actually harnessing the power of, you know, how beautiful it is and actually making sure that we don't compromise that and level up the country at the same time.
Okay, thank you. Bringing back engineers.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Marie Coley. Very much has been said at this conference this week in terms of Jamaica and education, and it was really just a comment and encouragement to the panel. My cousin attends, or works, I should say, for UTech. She's quite senior in there, and she has she made a decision as a student, not as a student, as an employee, to attend one of your Russian places of study, exchange, and learnt Russian within a year, came back to Jamaica, and obviously went into continual employment with yourselves. And
Okay.
I'm very proud of my Jamaican roots, and I just want to encourage you to say that, you know, Jamaica's education is far excelling other countries, including the UK, and that you are doing a good job.
Thank you, thank you.
And just very quickly, it's just about addressing the gap from education into employment. I think that's the key thing that needs to be addressed.
Okay. All right, thank you. And thanks for the comment, the compliment as well, right? We don't often realize, as much as we have many challenges in the Jamaican education space, our education system is actually preparing our young people well relative to other countries. Go ahead.
Hi, hello. Hi, hello. My name is Nikki Sutherland. I'm a financial literacy educator in the United Kingdom. I specialize in helping young men that are in prison and coming out of prison, as well as women and the youth in schools. I'm an ex-banker of 15 years, where I used to advise the CEO and management and leadership in regards to finance, service, and mindset. Now, my question is in regards to financial literacy in schools. Okay. We've heard a lot over the last few days in regards to crime and the effects of a lack of finance and financial knowledge in schools. So my question relates to the curriculum. I believe you have SFEP, which is one of the curriculums for money management.
I'm being wrapped, but we've got your question. Financial literacy.
Financial literacy
right.
in schools.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sir, you're going to have to be really quick because we're out of time.
Very brief. My name is Pat Reed, and for a number of years I've run an alternative education provision in the UK, and I just want to know who and how do I network with in order to see if I can help, especially as Amani said, with behavioral issues and learning issues with our young people. Okay. How can I help set that up in Jamaica?
I'm sure Dr. Troop wouldn't mind speaking to you. Go ahead, sir, very quickly.
Thank you very much. My name is Harold Clayton. I'm a product of the educational system in Jamaica, both from the primary school right up to the undergrad level, the graduate studies overseas. And so there is a strong brand and appeal for education for employees from Jamaica, Jamaican employees. I'm happy that you're moving toward the tech and the STEM. What is being put in place to tap into a pipeline of talent within the tech areas that's not only looking at local employers, but also global employers? I know I can speak specifically of Microsoft. That is quite a few Jamaicans working at Microsoft looking at creating a talent pipeline, tech pipeline. But we need to pull all our tertiary institutions together to ensure that we have the talent that when these major entities come to Jamaica, or not only come to Jamaica, they can see Jamaica as an area to get our talent.
Thank you. No, we're really out of time. So what I'm going to suggest, because Minister is here after the session, right? And her team, where is your team, Minister? We know Dr. Troop. Who else can they speak to? Dr. Pinnock is here. So we may not be able to, well, actually we won't have time to respond to all the questions. But after the session is closed, please find any of these individuals, including Minister, very approachable, very personable, and I'm sure she'll be happy to speak to you as well. So I can't deny a young person. So unfortunately, she's going to be the last question from the floor in orange there. You need to pull down the mic.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Khadija Baker. I am the Deputy Youth Mayor of St. James and previously Sign Language President of the Montego Bay High School for Girls. And my question is, how does the Virtual STEM Academy plan to integrate sign language into its curriculum and digital learning to ensure that the hearing impaired
Well, I'm glad I took that question. I'm being wrapped heavily, but I'm glad I took that question. But he won't be able to answer it because we're out of time. So I'm going to give the last 9 seconds to Minister. And then ask you all, please, to catch up with everyone who's here. It's going to be around after the session, but because we're on the live stream, we have to disclose. But afterwards, you can catch up with us. Minister?
All right, thank you. I know there were lots of in-depth and interesting questions. I just want to address the one that speaks to what is changing in the curriculum to prepare this generation for the jobs. And you would have heard earlier on from several panelists that we have to teach our children to be collaborative. We have to ensure that they're involved in project-based learning, that they are creative. And when we talk about creativity, it's not just creating something new from nothing. It's taking something that's existing, changing the way it's processed, changing something about it, problem solving, have them come at the situation, identifying the problem, and then putting forward suggestions. So there's a significant recognition in the way in which we are teaching now versus if you looked at classrooms 30 years, 20 years ago, you'd see a difference in what is being done. Thank you all for your questions, and I know I didn't answer everything, but I'm here, and if you can just connect with me, we can give you some further in-depth information about education here in Jamaica.
Thank you so much, Minister. Thank you. So, don't move yet. Just to quickly inform you that we're now going to go into lunch, which is sponsored by PICA, and that will probably be for about an hour. And then afterwards, we have 3 concurrent sessions. One of them actually is on education. It's called Revolutionizing Education in Jamaica from Early Childhood to Tertiary. It will be moderated by Dr. Pinnock. So for those of you who didn't get your questions answered, you have a second chance at this plenary session, the concurrent session in C4 this afternoon, straight after lunch. There'll be 2 other sessions as well. Heart NSTA has its own session as well after lunch, for those of you interested in TVET and what the government is doing around that. And we also have a session on wealth creation through real estate. So they'll all run concurrently, so you got to pick one, unfortunately, and go to that. But that's straight after lunch in Block C. Thank you so much. You've been amazing, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.